Hi, welcome to my channel Management Accounting Made Easy. We are going to see standard costing and variance analysis part 1. Here we are going to see what is standard costing. Standard costing is a control technique which compares the actual cost with the predetermined or standard costs over a period of time, for example, monthly or quarterly, to extract the variances. Similarly, actual revenue is compared with the standard revenue over a period of time to extract the variances. Any material variances, material means big variances, are investigated so that corrective action can be taken for future performances. Here we are going to compare standards with budgets. In budgeting, the budgeted total cost is compared with the actual total cost. For example, the budgeted marketing cost is compared with the actual total marketing cost. But standards, we compare the standard cost per unit with the actual cost per unit. For example, the direct material cost, standard direct material cost per unit is compared with the actual direct material cost per unit. And also in standards, we can apply standards where we can measure the output and where repetitive actions are performed. But budgeting can be prepared for all functions, even where the output cannot be measured. Here we're going to see what do we do in standard costing. First of all, we need to set the standards. Standards are set by the top management, usually with the participation of the managers involved. For example, the production budget is prepared with the participation of the production manager. Then the second stage, we obtain the actual results for a given period of time. Then we compare the actual results with the standards and we calculate the variances. Once we have calculated the variances, we do investigate the material variances. That means variances which are big. So we investigate the material variances and taking appropriate action wherever necessary. Here we are going to see the aims or purpose of setting standards. We set the standards as a target for performance measurement. Because managers are involved in setting the standards, they will be motivated to achieve those targets and they will be responsible for the achievement of the standards. And companies can hold these managers accountable for the actual performance. For example, if the production manager is involved in the standard setting process and if he hasn't achieved the budgeted number of production units, then he is answerable for not achieving the standards. And when managers achieve those standards, they will be rewarded for good performance. And on the other hand, they will be criticized for the poor performance. Here we're going to see where can we use these standard costing. Where we do batch or mass production, like beer breweries or pharmaceutical products, we can use standard costing in service industries as well, universities, if they offer the same course, so they can set the standards, or catering businesses cater for weddings and parties where mass production occurs, so they can use standard costing. We are going to see the advantages of standard costing. Because managers, they involved in standard setting process, so they are accountable for the standards set by them. And also, we can control the cost and we can achieve high revenues and the efficiency can be increased. And accurate planning is facilitated based on the standards set. This will motivate employees to achieve high performance levels, as I have stated before, because there are employee participation involved in standard setting process. And staff will understand more clearly what is expected from them. The disadvantages of standard costing includes senior management might be reluctant to delegate the responsibilities with lower level managers. And also, standard setting process could be time consuming and costly. Not all the organizations have the skill and resources to set the standards. Staff might try to build slack into the budget. For example, if a production manager is involved in the standard setting process, if he can actually produce 1,000 units, he might say he can only produce 950 units. Standard setting process could result in conflicts rather than cooperation and collaboration. Uncontrollable variances, which are beyond the control of the managers, for example, the general price increase in the market or general wage level increase in the market. This may demotivate managers as inflation is ignored and other market conditions are ignored. We are going to see what is a standard cost. A standard cost is a predetermined estimated unit cost used as a base or target for the performance analysis of the divisional managers. This is estimated from the historical performances. This will have all the details of material cost per unit, labor cost per unit, variable and fixed overhead cost per unit used in providing the service or production of the product. There are 4 types of performance standards. The first one is ideal standards. These standards are based on perfect operating conditions. That means no wastage, no inefficiencies, no idle times, no machine breakdowns. These standards expect optimal level of efficiency. These can be very demotivating as they are hard to achieve. The next one is attainable standards. Attainable standards are based on normal operating conditions and some allowances are made for wastage, inefficiencies, machine breakdown, etc. A well-set attainable standard will motivate employees as these are realistic standards to achieve. The next one is basic standards. Basic standards are kept unchanged over a period of time. It is used as the basis for preparing more up-to-date standards for control purposes. And the fourth type of standard is current standard. This is established for use over a short period of time related to current conditions. So out of the four types of performance standards, attainable standards are the best one. Here we are going to see updating the standards. In order to give a meaningful comparison with the actual performance, standards need to be updated. Because standard cost is a measure against the actual performance, so the standard cost must be accurate and up to date. Here we are going to see whether we can apply standard costing in the modern business environment. Standard costing can only be applied in stable operating conditions which are less subject to change. But in the present dynamic environment, conditions change very often. In standard costing, managers are expected to achieve the standards, but in a competitive environment, in order to remain competitive, continuous improvement is important. If continuous improvement is ignored, then there is a danger to lose the market share to competitors. In a highly automated production environment, more machine intensive, but standard costing is most suited to labor intensive repetitive environment. Standard costing is proactive. That means you wait for the act to happen and then you take the corrective action in the future than reactive, which may not be suited to the modern business environment. When non-identical products are produced, application of standard costing will be impossible. Here we are going to see what is variance analysis. Variance analysis is basically we compare the actual results with the standards and we extract the variance. Variance could be adverse variance or favorable variance. If our actual costs are more than the standard costs, then we end up with an adverse variance. And if our actual costs are less than the standard cost, we will end up with favorable variance. We have to ignore the uncontrollable variances which are beyond the control of the managers. For example, general price increase in the market, which is beyond the control of the manager, which has to be ignored. Investigation concentrates mostly on adverse controllable variances. But we need to check the accuracy of the standards in order to make a meaningful variance analysis. And organizations should watch for steadily worsening trends and take corrective actions where necessary. Thank you for watching this part 1 of standard costing and variance analysis. I'll see you in part 2 with more material labor variance analysis.